God's sake, this thing breaks like clockwork.
Crock work, I'll tell you. Frasier, once again, you suffer the tragedy of being clever and alone.
Welcome to Gimmicks, a podcast about the high-concept, experimental, structure-breaking gimmick episodes of TV, from musicals to bottle episodes to an end-of-series clip show about a container of spreadable cheese. I'm David Arnold.
And just when you thought I had worn him out, he flips me over like a girdle cake, and there we go again. I'm Derek B. Gale.
Incredible. This episode, we are talking about the sitcom Frasier with the episode Crocktails.
Yes. If you are not familiar with Frasier, I don't know how you couldn't.
Wow.
That seems
hard.
Impossible. It's like one of the weirdest things that has like persisted in pop culture, spanning generations. Like fucking Gen Z loves Frasier. Like it's so weird.
It's wild.
It's a situational comedy centering on Frasier Crane, a character who had originated on Cheers, and this show takes place after that character, Frasier, moved back to Seattle from Boston. So it was broadcast on NBC for 264 episodes over 11 seasons from September 1993 to May 2004. But of course, Kelsey Grammer had been playing Frasier Crane since I think 1984, I believe, right?
Yeah, since the beginning of Cheers. It's a wild run, and I've got it somewhere else in the notes, but he somehow, to the episode, tied the number of times a fictional character has appeared in number of episodes with the cast of Gunsmoke.
That's real. Wow.
That it was the exact number relies on the fact that he played Frasier Crane on an episode of Wings.
No way. That's so funny. No, was that consecutively, like nonstop, or is now that he did the revival, does that mean he's beaten it?
No. Oh, that's interesting, because I was pulling something that was before the revival. Oh my gosh, I think that means that he's beaten.
So he's beaten Gunsmoke.
He's beaten Gunsmoke, but that is no longer as impressive because now the person you must compete with is the cast of Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
How long has that show run? Like 20 years?
Plus. It is 24 years on the air.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
Yeah. We love a procedural, Derek, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, sure.
Sure. Yeah. I don't think you and I are huge procedural fans, but.
Yeah, but I know plenty of people who live and die over those things.
Yeah,
so I get
that's
it.
fair.
I get it. What's your experience with Frasier, David?
Oh, wow. So I actually will tell you that I never saw Cheers, but I was,
wow.
Yeah. Oh, I have seen Cheers. I did not watch Cheers. I did not watch Cheers when it was on. My apologies.
I refuse. I can't, I just simply can't handle Shelley Long. No, keep her out of my view.
That reaction was so warranted, by the way. Like, it was genuine surprise. No, I have seen Cheers as an adult, but I was the right age for this being on NBC, and NBC was kind of my go-to network for so many things.
Sure.
And so I was sort of all aboard the Frasier Crane train. And I will say this series started in 1993. I'm pretty sure a part of my brain knew that I was queer. And there was something about watching sometimes Frasier, but mostly Niles, sort of traverse through a life of being a little bit more of an effeminate man, but still being respected and popular and having a complicated relationship with his father. I devoured this series, but because it was on for fucking ever. I went to college and did not see anything after I went to college. So I did not catch the last 4 seasons. And then it might have been the pandemic. It might have been when it was on Netflix. But I remember us as a family just being like, we have to watch all of these. And so it would be our comfort show to put on. And this is a pretty heady, it is a pretty fast joke show to be a comfort show. Right now we're watching Golden Girls. That is a much better comfort show because nothing matters and they will repeat jokes. But
Yeah.
This is
and
like
they say
a
that they
heavy
go on
joke.
stage, they say the joke, wait for audience laughter. B.
Exactly.
Arthur has a big reaction to the thing that someone said.
And I
the
love
laughter
it.
continues. They pause for a little bit, then they continue on to the next line. Like you've got plenty of time to
Yes.
process the things that they say
Yes.
on a show like that. Yeah.
I can watch this and play Balatro, but Frasier is like it is literally must see TV for me, and I find the set of their main house to be, I think, my ideal sitcom set, which probably says things about like my sense of style.
Wow.
In that I want it to look clean, pretty, and modern, except that I want there to be one very comfortable recliner.
Oh, I was just gonna say like, oh, it just sounds like you're bougie. Okay, yeah, that sounds about right.
And it gave me a sense of kind of the language of what it meant to be erudite, and I don't know, that was just important for me developmentally.
The least surprising thing in the world is that you're a Frasier fan. Yeah, I mean, again, it was inescapable for the time. It blows my mind that it ran until 2004. Like it feels
Same.
feels so late for it. Like it feels like it's of a different era, you know? So, you know, it ran for so long and was such a big hit consistently for so long that it was unavoidable. So I definitely saw it, but honestly, of the like Cheers and Frasier thing, I was watching Cheers reruns more and was way more into that during the run of Frasier. Than I was Frasier itself. And I think just because, I don't know, Cheers is like more working class and like, you know, pretty like a lot more standard will they won't they type stories that are like very easy to follow, and like big crush on George Wendt. Saw myself in Cliff like as a character.
God. Yes.
Like maybe like, extremely relatable character for better and worse, unfortunately. So it was always like honestly weird to me that it was like watching Cheers and it's sort of like, but like that other show for like smart people or whatever, like that's a spinoff of this show. I don't understand that. Like they never even felt in the same universe to me, even though Frasier, the character, was literally on the episodes of Cheers that I'd be watching in reruns. So I don't know. It never really clicked on my head. It wasn't until much later in life that I like actually paid significant attention to the show and like would watch episodes and we're like, no, this is like really good. And it's like,
Yeah.
and I think too, it's like, if you watch Frasier, especially like as a kid or like as a teenager, it like feels like again, it feels like it's like, oh, this is like comedy for smart people. But then you watch it now, it's sort of like, no, it's just like fucking just farcical slapstick sometimes shit. Like it's like actually a really cartoony show. They just like the characters just use big words because the joke is that they're annoying and use big words. Like,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think the French farce in particular spoke a lot to me, and I would go on to have like a love affair with French farce. I worked Tartuffe is the last stage production that I worked. Was French farce, and it was what made me leave the theater. Unfortunately, so I have like this bad taste in my mouth now of French farce, and it all had to do with actor safety and nothing about the play. The play it's mediocre, fine, but. Like I couldn't keep working for a production where people were put at risk because you thought that it would look cool for the stage to revolve. Get over yourself. This is community theater.
God,
yeah, I know. I took safety is very important to me as a person. So
Sure.
I now have this taste in my mouth about fucking French farce. And even in this episode, there's so much farce that I'm like, oh God, I'm having like flashbacks to community theater. But it's interesting that. So now you've watched Cheers and you've watched enough Frasier. I will say that I like the character of Frasier Crane better in Cheers than I do in Frasier. In Frasier, for me, Frasier's kind of the worst part of the show. And everyone else is more interesting to me constantly.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But I think that's part of it because like Cheers, he wasn't the central character.
Exactly.
He was, I mean, Cheers was very much an ensemble, but like there were definitely anchor characters that were the most important ones that were driving things in Cheers, right? And then this one, suddenly he is in that position and they do have to kind of tweak him and, and being often, both either the straight man in some situations or the one who kind of stirs up the sitcom drama and causes problems. Like that's not a great place for like a character to be likable. And he's already kind of prone to be a character that you kind of could potentially love to hate depending on your perspective. So it's just going to kind of highlight a lot of those worst qualities. So I think that does kind of make sense. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
My other memory from watching the show as a child is that when people, so I was about to say on the playground, and I think I was a little older than the playground when I started watching this, but in school, if somebody would ask me who I thought was attractive, and I wasn't ready to tell them, obviously, that I found men attractive. I said that I thought the most beautiful woman on television was Roz Doyle from Frasier, and I think that is the gayest answer that you can actually
My
give.
God, truly. That's so spot on, though, because it's true.
She's gorgeous. She's beautiful.
Can't be a homosexual man and not fucking love Roz and see yourself in Roz and want to be Roz and also want to have a drink with Roz. Like,
Right.
it's, yes, truly.
But I think it's a safe choice for someone who's not actually attracted to people to say, "Oh, I'm attracted to this person," because the sitcom goes out of its way to say, like, this is a woman that people want to find attractive, and everyone's attracted to Roz. Like, it is incredible.
Yeah, that is very funny. Yeah. She's got like the best voice ever. I love
Truly.
Harry Hilton's voice so
Oh my God.
much.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Early interaction that Derek and I had before I came on Ticket Mix is I pitched a recasting of our favorite sci-fi show, Sliders. And I said, put Perry Gilpin in the Arturo role, do some gender fuckery with all this. It would be incredible. It would sell like hotcakes.
I think that fucking rocks. She'd be so good in that. She's just the perfect, not just going a Perry Gilpin tangent right now, but we're even really talking about it, but just like, she's the perfect like combination of like hyper feminine and hyper masculine energy, like in the same person. And she's like, I love her like sexual agency that she has in this show. Like, as much as other characters, you know, obviously make fun of her for it, and the show sometimes makes a joke out of it in a way that I don't like. Like, as a character in a vacuum, like, she's a fucking lady who loves to fuck, and she knows that, like, and is totally down with it. Like, I love that.
Yeah, and she's good at it too. Like, that's the other thing is like it never feels selfish. Like, everybody who has slept with Roz is like, I could do that again, and she's like, I don't have time.
Yeah, it rules. And
I got what I needed.
She's also still very busy. She's got a great career. She's very like, yeah, she's great. Like, best character on the show, maybe. Like,
maybe
she
truly.
rocks.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the show at a high level. This show was created by David Angel, Peter Casey, and David Lee. This was a trio who met while they were working on Cheers together. So they had all different roles as they came into Cheers, but that by season 6, they were all working together in the writer's room in one way or another. And they decided that they worked really well as a team, and so they formed a production company. And they left Cheers and created Wings. So, Derek, how do I not know this about you? Were you a Wings watcher?
No,
Okay.
never.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I'm sure I've seen episodes of Wings, but against my will. My biggest connection to Wings is like, I mean, I know it has great actors on it, but like, I remember being like, oh, the guy who voiced Superman on Superman the Animated Series, Tim Daly, was on Wings first. Like, that's the kind of associations that I have with Wings. But yeah, I couldn't tell you any characters' names on that show.
It's fascinating because the beginning of that sentence changes for a lot of things, but started on Wings is an end of a sentence that is a lot of actors' careers, surprisingly.
I mean, I think that's the thing. It's like, it's a really like kind of quietly super important like anchor show in the history of television, like modern television in a way, even though it like doesn't really, I know it was popular at the time, but like it does not get talked about ever anymore.
And I've watched it as an adult. It's fine. It's not, I don't think it's garbage by any means. Like, these guys knew what they were doing, and it's a good workplace comedy, but it's kind of like a fine workplace comedy. It's not even like, I wouldn't even put it in my top 20 or I wouldn't put it in the top 50. It's just okay. Sure. Abraham Ben Ruby was on an episode where he came out as gay. That was important to me because of, Abraham Ben Ruby. That's it though.
Sure.
Okay, well, let me talk a little bit about then how we got to Frasier. So they had sort of promised, after working with Grammer on Cheers, that they were going to write something for him, and they would go on to fulfill that promise after Wings had sort of started to take flight, Derek.
Oh, nailed it.
So Cheers ends and Grammer is free, and they are sort of thinking, we want to pitch this series together. We want to sort of put something together, and they come up with a conceit where Grammer will play a publisher who is paralyzed and gets help from a home health nurse as he works from home, which was a novel concept in the early 90s.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
And the live-in nurse was going to be a Hispanic woman who was sort of street smart, and they would clash against each other in that way. And it felt a little bit moonlighting-y.
Yeah. Okay. I could see that being an interest. It feels right for the time period, and I could see that being an interesting show. But I don't know. I also can see it being a thing that like lasted for like a couple seasons and then like is never talked about ever again.
Exactly. So Paramount hates the idea. They hate it.
Okay.
They hate it for like 100 reasons, truly and honestly. But the number one is you've got this character. You have the permission to do it. Just make him Frasier Crane. And they said, okay, we'll do it, but we're not going to set it in Boston. We got to get this as far away from Boston as possible. And so they set it in Seattle in hopes that like our buddy Norm is not just going to show up and hang out around the house, because they didn't want it to feel like a spinoff.
Sure.
Ironically, everyone but Kirstie Alley did eventually appear on Frasier.
But, I don't know. I don't think that that's like, I think that that's funny, but I do think that because Frasier is such a wildly different show in tone and pace and style and perspective than Cheers was, like, it doesn't feel like weird or annoying. I think like the problem that a lot of other spinoffs have is if it feels like it's just an extension of the show, then it's like, well, I'm just getting more of what I've already seen and it doesn't feel fresh. And then the more you bring in those guest characters in, then it's just like, well, no, it just feels like I'm just watching the same show and it maybe just feels it maybe burns you out a little bit. I think with Frasier, it's almost interesting to see what these Cheers characters are like in a completely different setting in tone and type of show,
Yeah. And towards the end, Frasier actually goes back to Boston and we just knock off the three that we hadn't met yet. So it almost felt like by the end we were like, well, now we're so close that we may as well just do this.
Sure.
And it's honestly a pretty good episode. I mean, they're good. They're a really good cast. The Cheers cast, hot take. The Cheers cast is really good.
Yeah.
All right, so they've got this new concept, a psychiatrist in Seattle. What will we do with him? Well, right off the bat, we're in trouble because a psychiatrist seeing patients in a private practice is the Bob Newhart show. And they were like, we can't do this.
I think it was smart. I think that was a smart consideration for sure.
Very smart, because Kelsey Grammer is not Bob Newhart. And like to pull off watching somebody do therapy, you have to be Bob Newhart. There's no smart way to do that. You've got to sort of be Bob Newhart's kind of dopey humor.
Yeah, well, and I think Kelsey Grammer, thrives on being very, as this character, maybe in person too, but especially as this character, really thrives on like being kind of like above it all and kind of arrogant and someone trying to make sure he's in a high status position. And I think the second that you put him in a room with another person and see him doing that to another person's face, you feel too bad for that person, especially if they're coming in with a mental illness, which, many of the characters that call into his show are. And he just looks like too much of a jerk. But as long as you don't see that person and they're just a voice, off screen, especially voiced by like random celebrity cameos and stuff, like, it doesn't feel as mean-spirited, even though it technically is,
And the off-screen really delivers it. Even if you don't recognize that it's a celebrity, which then you're kind of like, well, I don't care if somebody makes fun of Macaulay Culkin in 1996. Dude, you have more money than God. Like, you're at the top of your game. I mean, your parents have more money than God. So, all right, great. We're now going to set it in a radio station. He's going to be a sort of call-in psychiatrist, but now we're worried about accidentally being WKRP in Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah. Was that happening at the same time?
Oh, it just ended. It had just ran. Oh, wait, one more year. When Frasier started, there was one more year. And so they're like, okay, well then let's keep his job here. We like his job, but instead we're going to offer another way of thinking about it. And it is David Lee of the trio, who is openly gay, who says, you know what if we make the premise of the sitcom this sort of man who's gone out and made his way in the world has to then take care of his aging father, because that is something that Lee is literally going through in his life. And Frasier and his father, Martin, Lee's father doesn't get David Lee. He doesn't get his job. He doesn't get his sexuality. He is not accepting, but Lee wants to take care of his father. And that is how the character of Martin Crane is created. And that is how the series learns to center itself on the home life of Frasier Crane.
That's, That's really, really beautiful that it came from like a really personal place. But it also, like, I guess it never really occurred to me that like this show, I think, is really unique for sitcoms, especially of this time, that it's not purely a workplace sitcom and it's not purely a family sitcom. It's like a combination of the two. Cheers, very squarely a workplace sitcom. This one, like, the time is pretty evenly split between his workplace and his home, and they kind of cross over many times. And I never really thought about it, but that might be a reason why Frasier seems so, especially at the time, seems so unique to the sort of sitcom scope. It doesn't really fit into the typical structure you would accept or you would expect.
Yeah, and they really smartly figured out like what their locations were going to be, and it was the Frasier home, it was Frasier's work, and it was Cafe Nervosa, this sort of third magic place that they could always shove these characters to. No matter what their plot lines were, they almost always had this center point to go to, which is why it is the center point of another gimmick episode that we could get to eventually, which is My Coffee with Niles, where it is just one scene in Cafe Nervosa.
Nice. Oh,
and many folks' favorite episode of the series, and it is well earned.
Sure.
This one doesn't rise to the top for a lot of people, but I will tell you, for the thesis that the workplace is home and home is work for these characters, I think this episode really delivers the emotional punch of that to the audience right before the ending.
Yeah. It's interesting doing a late season Frasier, because I feel like I don't know if I've seen any of like the last couple seasons of the show. And I feel like people that I talk to are the same way, where it's sort of like they either dropped off of it or don't remember it, or sort of like the show got bad at a certain point and it ran for too long. Like, so would be one that other than, people who were diehards or people who specifically wanted to watch through the whole thing, wouldn't be surprised that a lot of people who like just simply had never seen this episode before.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and what's interesting is kind of like Cheers before it, there's a sag after the will they, won't they gets resolved. So Cheers experienced it. It's kind of funny that Frasier experiences it too. Once Daphne and Niles gets together, we sort of forget how to use these characters for like a half a season. And it is a little bit of bloat as someone who has recently rewatched the entire series.
Sure.
It's a little painful. Just before we get off of the creators, I do want to say that like one of the like maybe famous parts of lore around the creation and show running of Frasier is that David Angel, one of the creators and probably the more business savvy of the three, is flying back to Los Angeles the morning of September 11th, and he is on American Airlines Flight 11, which is the first plane to hit the World Trade Center. And it is remarkable how much they didn't stop filming Frasier. Like, they stopped production. Really? They didn't like work that day or that week, but they got back to work pretty fast for losing one of their creators. And there is, they did have some time to grieve and mourn. That has been written about. But it almost seems like I was surprised how little I was able to find about this written out there, since this is a pretty significant occurrence that happened that was a shared sort of national trauma. It was just really surprising not to read more about it.
That is weird. Yeah, that is weird. And maybe it was as simple as just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, fair enough, which is totally fair. Although I will say, and I told Derek this before we started recording, I've listened to Perry Gilpin on a lot of podcasts because my girl loves to say yes to a podcast.
Come on to the podcast, Perry Gilpin. We love you. We'll absolutely, we'll shower you with praise. Yeah, but I'm assuming she has brought it up before.
She has. She has talked about it, and she has talked about what she needed in the moment was to have an opportunity to talk about good memories of David, and she and the rest of the cast were able to do that. And that is nice. Yeah.
I did find it interesting that in the timeline of this episode, they do conspicuously skip over 2001.
Yep.
Like, they skip over, there's a few years they skip over because they can't revisit like a scene for like, they can't do 11 different scenes for 11 different years. But 2001 is one of the years they skip over. So,
Yeah.
Think of that what you will.
Truly.
Scientific tests show that when one drinks Dr. Pepper slowly, one can truly relish the 23 flavors. Would that we could savor all our relationships, much as the conductor savors his chorale nocturna, slowly. Comments, caller?
Only one, Frasier. You never savored me slowly.
Well, Lilith, I guess I finally found the right icy doctor.
Frasier Idol?
Slower is better. Trust me, I'm a doctor.
It began 11 years ago and would become television's most honored comedy.
Thank you, Frasier.
Next week, Frasier returns to Thursday
Coffee tomorrow?
for its final farewell
I'll miss the coffees.
with a wedding and a baby.
Isn't he perfect, Dad?
Certainly is, Mom.
And for Frasier, the love of his life. The series finale of Frasier, starting at 8/7 Central, NBC next Thursday.
The episode we are talking about today is from season 11, episode 20, entitled Crock Tales. The original air date was May 4th, 2004, and it is, of course, technically the penultimate episode of the season, of the season, but also of the series, the penultimate episode of the series. If some places will have the finale split up into a part 1 and part 2, but the finale did air together as one big block. So this was the last episode aired before the finale. Mm-hmm. So the synopsis per IMDb is Frasier re-breaks an old earthenware crock that has been in his condo since day one and reminisces about some events through the years that included it. My first question to you, David, before we even get into it, is that crock prop, was that there in the first episode?
It in fact was not there in any episode preceding this one.
No!
I know, it's devastating.
I'm so mad at them. There's so many props in that fucking set they could have used and made it be the centerpiece of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have so many fucking questions about this crock then in this episode, because I think, we will fucking get to it then.
Yeah.
That makes me mad. I points off for this episode for that it being an invention. Because there's some bullshit that they pull with that crock in this thing that doesn't make any goddamn sense. That only made sense if they were retrofitting a pre-existing crock. Whatever.
I know.
Okay.
I know. I was
that.
also pretty mad, Derek, because I was like, okay, I'm going to find the first instance of this crock. So I'm watching through episodes. I'm scanning for kitchen scenes because that's where it is when he breaks it. I'm scanning for dining room scenes. And then eventually I was like, oh, this just isn't there in seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I was like, oh, wow, they made it for season 11. That's fine. Whatever. That's enough time, I suppose. Nope. This is the first time it's been seen.
Fuck that, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
many
it
props.
sucks. It sucks.
Okay. We must move on.
We must
move on because I will have rants about this later on then, because suddenly anything that I was going to be forgiving on this episode for, I can't be. So let's go. We're going to fight.
Yeah. All right, so this one was written by John Sherman and Bob Daly. Sherman had some previous work on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. He wrote for Bill Nye the Science Guy. That was kind of fun to see in his credits.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other stuff, especially stuff for teens and children. So kind of nice to see him up in sitcom land. Don't worry, he does not leave after Frasier. He is a sitcom writer from here on out. He comes on as an executive producer for the series in the middle of season 6 and stays to the end of the series run. He ends up writing 15 episodes of Frasier. And one of the things I really liked about Sherman is he was responsible for the Frasier-specific picketing at Paramount for the 2023 strike.
Oh, cool. Good for him.
Yeah.
Was Kelsey Grammer nope. Okay.
No, many of the cast did participate. Grammer was not among them. It was more predominantly writers and former writers and fans of the show who came out. There were some great signs because it was Frasier.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, sorry. But by the way, if you're like, I love Kelsey Grammer, I don't want to learn about his politics, maybe skip to later in the episode.
Sorry, don't come into this queer leftist podcast.
Yeah. I don't have great things to say. But I do have great things to say about Bob Daly, mostly because his first writing credit was Rugrats. I loved it. Yay.
Wow, that's so funny.
And he wrote a Lipschitz episode, so he wrote a psychiatrist in the Rugrats world. I was really, really happy about that.
The one that was attached to the one that we covered on Gimmicks, or is it a different one?
Sadly not. He wrote a different one where someone was obsessed with it. Yeah, it was not the fun Lipschitz episode that we were really close to from last year, but alas. He does join the entire writing team in season 7 as a story editor, and then he stays on through seasons 8 through 11. He writes a total of 11 episodes of Frasier, and he has written 2 episodes of the Frasier reboot, including what incidentally became the last episode of the season, or series, which was a Christmas episode for all of our True Calling fans.
Oh my God. Love the True Calling poll. Did you watch the Frasier reboot, revival, whatever it is?
I watched the first 2 episodes and then decided to not watch any more. But I will go. I
didn't hear great things about it for people that I know that watched it. So
I didn't feel great things, but like I made it through the bad parts of the actual Frasier run. So it's 20 episodes. I probably will watch it at some point in time.
Okay.
But it did not demand I must watch the next one.
I don't know that a Frasier show where like none of your original cast other than Frasier and like scant appearances from other supporting characters was really what anyone would have ever wanted.
Yeah.
Personally. So,
well, and essentially for folks, have you seen any of it or?
No
Okay.
interest.
The problem is that they're making Frasier be Frasier and Martin at the same time. And that it doesn't functionally work.
Yeah, that's weird.
Oh, one last thing. Bob Daly is attached as a consulting producer. It is writing an episode on the King of the Hill reboot, which is coming out, I think, like from when this episode drops, a couple weeks, it will be out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
This one was directed by Sheldon Epps. Watched and read a few interviews with Sheldon Epps, not related to Omar Epps, and is asked that question a lot. That really sucks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway, he's a working director. He has worked on 23 episodes of Frasier and a ton of other sitcoms really across the gamut. But his most prolific credits as a director were on 66 episodes of the sitcom Girlfriends, nearly a third of all that went to air, making him the most directed on that series, to the point that I was like, co-creator, executive producer, anything? Nope, he was just a director they loved working with.
Okay.
Not even house style. Like he wasn't the pilot director. It was a truly amazing credit to see in somebody's IMDb.
Yeah, interesting.
He did come back and direct 2 episodes of the Frasier reboot. Great, good for him. And what I really liked about learning about Sheldon Epps was that he has always taken a look at the way in which to create opportunities for marginalized voices to be better represented in Hollywood and theater. And so in the year 2020, he was named as the senior artistic advisor for Ford's Theater in DC. And that has a complicated current history because he was really brought on a DEI initiative, and Ford's Theater is managed by the National Park Service, though the programming, who gets on the cast, what shows they put on, is done by a nonprofit organization that has always worked closely with the National Park Service and is now experiencing a lot of turbulence.
Right. Yikes. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. And it's really sad because I think Epps is probably like a significant voice of increasing opportunities for people whose voices just didn't get heard for 30 years in the field. And it is sort of a tireless crusade. And to imagine it being bested by paperwork here at the end of his career is heartbreaking.
Yeah, that sucks. That sucks so much.
Yeah.
Many things do, I guess. Including the next person we're talking about.
Oh, everyone's least favorite beast. I don't actually know. They're probably worse beasts.
No, a lot of
Derek.
people really fucking love him as Beast, actually.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That actually is very surprising to me.
No, people fucking love. I mean, he was like a fan casting for a long time, you know.
Wow. Okay.
I don't think he needs to be Beast now. I think is the thing. But
Okay.
you know, yeah. Kelsey Grammer.
Kelsey
Talk
Grammer.
about Kelsey Grammer.
All right, let's talk about him back in the day because I do think he has a very interesting entrance to the world. He started his professional acting debut as Lennox in the Broadway revival of Macbeth. It's a big role if you're not a Macbeth head. This was in 1981. Derek and I weren't born yet. The following year, he was Othello, also a big role in the play Othello.
Wait,
sorry. Who did he play in Othello? I didn't write this in the notes. He was in Othello. He didn't play Othello.
That would have like I'm gonna have questions.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
No, James Earl Jones was Othello. Okay. And Christopher Plummer was also in it. So now I have to decide which of the 2 main roles was Kelsey Grammer. I can't remember, but they were all in it together. But let me just repeat those names. Christopher Plummer and James Earl Jones are in a play with this man. And so he's kind of a nobody at this point. And these are people who are already somebodies and about to be somebodies. Because James Earl Jones is about to explode.
Yeah. Oh, Cassio. I played Cassio when I did Othello in college, actually.
Oh, fun.
It's a fun role. That's interesting.
So Plummer must have been Iago then, is my guess.
That absolutely checks out.
So, and he would have done fabulous at it. So
That sounds like a really stellar production.
Right?
I wish I could have seen that.
And again, I cannot impress upon anyone that by 1987, like James Earl Jones is like the pinnacle of stardom. And so this is all set up for success, which means that in 1984, Grammer is sort of a sought after theatrical talent. And so he's brought on to the cast of Cheers by his Juilliard classmate, Mandy Patinkin, who
Love it.
he just, happened to go to school with.
Yeah.
This fucking sucks, Derek. Like, I didn't go to school with anyone famous. Originally, he's intended to just be guest cast. He's just going to be part of the rotating people who come to the bar, but he's sort of a fan favorite, and so thus Frasier Crane is a series regular of the cast. Mm-hmm. And this is where, like, I looked at like how many credits people had and where our boy is at. So this is the kind of exciting thing of like he'll play Frasier for the next 20 years.
Yeah, 635 episodes. That's how many it was, I guess, before the Frasier reboot. So I guess
correct. So 655.
55 episodes of the same character. That's bananas. That's so funny. Yeah. Wow. And then like many characters that he has played on other things are like parodies of this character, riffing on, like, Sideshow Bob is very much like Kelsey Grammer is putting on a very good performance as Sideshow Bob, but it's obviously riffing on his portrayal of Frasier, like, very intentionally.
Well, and that only gets worse when you bring on David Hyde Pierce and John Mahoney as other members of the Terwilliger family. Thank you. Whatever, that family. Sideshow Bob's family. Yeah, thank you. So, okay, great. He gets some other like sitcom work. And as you've mentioned, he plays many parodies of himself. He has a recurring 2-episode stint on 30 Rock, which he gets an Emmy nomination for.
I forgot he was on that. Yeah.
And it is good. I mean, like, it's good because
that's the thing. Kelsey Grammer is a really, really, really great actor. Like, he's really good. I mean, and especially like the things that he is good at playing, he is really good at playing a Frasier type guy who's like really like an erudite, arrogant, holier than thou type of guy. He's fucking killer at that every single time, and like different shades of it. Like, he's not always playing Frasier either even when he plays that kind of character.
Right. So he even like dips his toe in some cable stuff. So he's on some cable comedies, Hank and Partners, which are both on either FX or USA. And then he is also on like gritty series as like an attorney or a mob boss in the series Boss, or the attorney series Proven Innocent, that I've never seen. Sorry, Proven Innocent fans. But one of his greatest sins is that he has cast across Patricia Heaton on a show called Back to You. And Grammer, whose workplace ethic was a little troubled from his substance use throughout his entirety on Cheers and Frasier, brings a lot of that to Back to You. And it causes the series to fall behind in schedule. It has budget issues and it ends up being canceled. He bears a lot of personal responsibility to it. And when the cancellation is announced, he actually has a major heart attack.
I don't know if I knew about that.
Especially because of the stress of all the other actors, including Patricia Heaton, who are now kind of in hot water because they're not going to keep having jobs. So I do appreciate that he feels some responsibility for that, and he does. And Patricia Heaton deserves better than to have been married to Ray Romano for that many years. Sorry, I don't like Ray Romano, and I don't like Kelsey Grammer either. Sorry, but he sort of continues to dip his toe in the water of television, and then there's the Frasier reboot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the thing about Kelsey Grammer that's frustrating is that, like, he's really talented, and I don't think he's like a fucking monster, but he's just is an asshole and has like really your basic ass slate of Republican views that have only gotten more pronounced over time.
Yeah.
Like, and which really sucks considering like he was on a show that I think was often really important to like queer people and like to like liberal progressives at the time, and people watching it who like have become leftists like nowadays and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of this show that I think appeals to those people in certain ways, especially like the queerness. Like, this is such a fucking gay show in so many ways. Like people made fun of it. The people would make fun of the show for it's like Frasier is just gay. Like, it's just a gay character. And the show would even poke fun of of that sometimes. So it's like, it's a bummer that he's at the center of it, and sort of something that he's someone that sometimes, like, theoretically the show would be against, you know, in terms of its perspective otherwise.
I think the part of Grammer's story with both Cheers and Frasier that resonates the most with me is how much, how great everyone else is on these shows, because they took time and energy to host multiple interventions around Grammer's addiction, which is, you know, something that people do struggle with.
Yeah.
But these folks would lovingly come to work with a hope of getting their friend help. And I think that speaks so much to their good work. And I like, everything that I read from every single person who was on this cast in particular, which I spent the most time on, but even some stuff that I got from Cheers, just speaks to, like, work is never family, and you're always gonna be mad that somebody microwaved a fish or whatever. But these did truly feel like workplaces that they did have a lot of care for each other. And the topical nature of Cheers being set in a bar and Frasier being set with psychiatrists does also add a layer of interest around so many people wanting to help one person going through struggle and darkness.
Yeah, I think that's really well stated. I think it also probably speaks to why they couldn't just get a reunion of all the cast members for a revival, you know, because I'm sure that there's a lot of baggage from that, even if they were very close to each other. But I do think it also speaks to their closeness that this was a show that ran for 11 seasons, and it is the same cast throughout all 11 seasons, which is, it's not unheard of, but it's not common either. Like, especially, you know, it pretty much any other show, if it runs 11 years and has that kind of behind the scenes struggles, one of those cast members will have left midway through. Cheers, for example.
We even talk about Cheers. Yeah, exactly. My girl, Shelley Long.
Yeah, Shelley Long is such an important part of the show. The show, there's more of that show without Shelley Long than there is with her in it, despite how important she is to that show. Isn't that wild to think about?
Oh, that hurts to think about. Oh,
but it's true, you know. Like
it is.
So it is really incredible that the entire cast stuck around for it. And again, I know people might remark on, like, you know, up and down swings for quality, and that the last few seasons weren't as good or whatever, but like, it had a consistent run for 11 years for the most part. And that is pretty bananas. And I think a lot of that probably does come down to this cast that they have that is just, like, was clearly very dedicated to each other and to putting on a good show that they seem to enjoy making, even with those struggles with Kelsey Grammer behind the scenes.
Yeah. All right. So then let's talk about some queer people, Derek, because
heck yeah,
pretty much the rest of the cast are friends. Like,
Yay.
I'm not going to lie on this one.
Love that.
And I think we start how they're listed. It's Jane Leeves is the first one to talk about. She's probably one of the more prolific television actors to be featured on Frasier. She was in the main cast of a series called Throb that I actually did not know about until I was doing this research. I don't know if you're a throbber.
I'm not throbbing for throb. I'm not a throb head.
So okay, there was that. She had a 4-episode arc on Seinfeld. She was on 9 episodes of Murphy Brown, and she had a dozen or so guest roles. But then she gets cast as Daphne Moon in Frasier. This is the character that replaces that sort of streetwise Hispanic nurse that they had thought about in the very first iteration of all of this. And so they made her English because they wanted Jane Leeves to be on it. She was going to bring some major oomph to the cast to help sort of boost the idea. And she was going to be one of the anchors. I think it's a little sad then when Leeves gets pregnant and they do the most sitcom thing they could do and sort of like write her away of just being a pregnant person. And it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, sure.
After this, she is one of the lead roles in Hot in Cleveland. She's fantastic in it. And then she is on most of the episodes of The Resident, which is one of the medical dramas that's been around in the past 20 years. I watched an episode that had her in it. She was good. Cool. That's all I have to say about that. It was not The Pit, but it wasn't ER. It was good.
Sure.
After bonding really closely with Perry Gilpin, her and Perry Gilpin and Jane Leeves form a production company together. They reboot The Vicar of Dibley, a BBC series, and they do it with Kirstie Alley as the vicar.
That's what a weird collection of people and things.
And like her and Gilpin are like best friends. They hang out all the time. They live 2 doors down from each other, and they intentionally wanted to become neighbors.
I love that. That's so nice. Good for them.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
it's
beautiful.
It's cute.
That's
I
cute.
love it.
That's cute. That's cute. David Hyde Pierce as Niles Crane. He's so, I love him so much. Love him so much. And what a true, like, I remember watching Frasier and seeing, like, as a kid, and just assuming that, like, they had to be real life brothers, because it's eerie how much Kelsey Grammer and David Hyde Pierce look alike. Like, it's weird, honestly. He had a few appearances prior to being cast as a series regular on The Powers That Be. Are you familiar with that?
I watched an episode of it. It was sort of a spoofy, like, I'm a senator and here are all the people around me, like West Wing with a lot less seriousness, but not quite Veep, not Veep.
Either way, there's a casting director on that who knew him, worked on Wings, brought a photo of Pierce to the creators, remarking at, again, how much he and Grammer looked like brothers. So it's like, all right, well, we weren't going to have a brother here, but maybe we'll create a brother character for this guy, since we've got a guy that looks like Kelsey Grammer so much, and we've got him recommended to us, right? So, you know, I feel like this show is still probably his biggest claim to fame. He has done quite a bit of things, but I feel like it's always from the perspective of, like, oh, the guy from Frasier, the guy who played Niles in Frasier, is guest starring on this thing, right? So, you know, today he's probably better known for his Broadway and theatrical performances, but he was in every episode of the series Julia, which is based on Julia Child, along with Bebe Neuwirth from this show. And he's done a lot of voice performances. So, like, Bugs Life, Treasure Planet, Osmosis Jones, The Mating Habits of the Earthbound Human. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, Derek, it's time for me to go back to high school. The Mating Habits of the Earthbound Human is a pretty terrible film.
Okay.
Where David Hyde Pierce plays an alien who is narrating the sexual congress between Mackenzie Aston and Carmen Electra, who are the humans that the alien tracks as they have eventually coitus. And the only reason to watch it is that David Hyde Pierce narrates the entire film, and it is fantastic because it's the brother from Frasier.
Sure. That makes sense. I like him in Wet Hot American Summer. I think he's
great choice.
fun in that,
Great
too.
choice.
Yeah.
I will say, if you're interested in the Mating Habits of the Earthbound Human, one of Lucy Liu's first appearances on film as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh, next we have Perry Gilpin, who plays Roz. I think we have already expressed that Roz is fantastic, but the role of Roz was the only major role that was auditioned. Everyone else was sort of picked because they looked like another person or because they had this great history. But Roz was a role that needed to be auditioned. It was auditioned by more than 300 people, and it was originally cast to Lisa Kudrow.
I can totally see that. It would have been such a different show, but I can absolutely see that. Like, I think that would have probably worked in a way. It would have, again, been different, but I do think that it would have worked. Like, I think she would have been good in this role.
They found her performance during the read-through to be too docile, and instead of, I don't know, directing one of the greatest comedic minds of our lives, Lisa Kudrow, they just fired her and hired Perry Gilpin instead.
I think it's the kind of thing where, like, Lisa Kudrow probably a few years later, I think she probably would have killed it.
Absolutely.
I think that it was probably just a little bit too early in her career. Because I do think that, like, even like seeing her in early Friends versus like stuff that she'd be doing 10 years later, like, I think that there's a confidence to, like, what she's able to do. And she, like, really flourished, you know, after she was on, you know, the biggest show of all time. So, like, yeah.
Really quickly about Kudrow, because she was fired from Frasier, she had actually, like, started to spend money that she hadn't yet gotten. So she had to take a job. She had to take a job. And so she took the waitress on Mad About You, which is how she was noticed and recognized and eventually cast as Phoebe on Friends. But unlike everyone else on Friends, Kudrow had fired from Frasier on her resume.
Oh my God.
And so she had to go through a tremendous number of hoops in order to get the role of Phoebe, which she, of course, eventually did. And now, like, doesn't have money problems.
Yeah, that's so funny though. Like, she really went through it to get it, and coming out on the other side of Friends, I think great for her. Also, I think, like, ultimately, time has proven her to be like the best one out of the bunch, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
And the one with weirdly the most consistent career out of all of them, I feel like.
Yes.
Pretty incredible, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also very funny. Lisa Kudrow and Ray Romano have both come up in this conversation, and they were both in a recent show together on Netflix that I am blanking on the name of, but it's by the same creator of Dead to Me.
Oh. Oh.
It's called No Good Deed. It's a similar vein to Dead to Me, where it's like kind of like a dark comedy, but also very much like a mystery thriller. It's really fucking good. And like, they are both very good in it too. Like, I know you're not a Ray Romano fan, but I think he has a really good performance in this show. And he and Lisa Kudrow play off together very well in a dramatic performance. It fucking rocks. It's a great show. Highly recommend it. Not nearly as good to Dead to Me. It's not a perfect show, but I had a fun binge watching all 8 episodes.
I love it. I'm putting this on. Linda Lavin? Oh, I'm here. Let's
Abby
go.
Jacobson. She's also in it too. Yeah,
Okay.
it's great. It's a stat cast.
It must.
Yeah.
Only 8 episodes. I'm doing it tonight.
Linda Cardellini too. She gets to play like a fucking bad evil bitch. Like, it's great. It
God.
rules.
Let's stop talking about Frasier and talk about this show.
It's great. It's fun. I don't think there's a gimmick episode we can do, unfortunately, but it's fun. Would recommend it.
All right. So since the role, so Roz Doyle is probably the role that Peri Gilpin is most recognized for. But she has been a prolific voice and character actor since Frasier. She also had a recurring role on almost every episode of an ABC family drama about gymnastics called Make It or Break It, where she plays like the mom of a gymnast character. I watched an episode. She's good. It's not for me. It's an ABC family show.
Yeah, sure.
And then she comes back in the second season of the Frasier reboot, which is the wrong season. The right season would have been the first season.
Yeah.
And doesn't do enough to save it, unfortunately.
And she's the out of the main cast. I know smaller characters appear, but she's the only one of the main cast that ever reprises a role in
That's
the show,
correct.
right?
That's correct. Yeah. And it is because she just doesn't hold grudges. I will tell you, I've listened to this woman talk a lot. She does not hold a grudge against anyone for anything, for any reason.
But apparently, you know who does? Everyone else in this cast, I guess.
Just perhaps world's best human. I do want to say that I don't know. She talks a lot, and one of the stories that really resonated with me is that one of the best episodes of Frasier, called Ham Radio, where they act out a murder mystery on the air, where Roz has gone to have dental surgery, and so she has to say like multiple murderers while having like gauze in her mouth.
Yes, that's what you're talking about.
That happened 3 days after her mother passed away.
Oh no!
And
oh my God!
Everyone was like, girl, we're ahead of schedule. We could actually like take a week off. And she was like, I have to work. But David Lee, who had also like recently lost a parent, and her spent so much time together, really perfecting it. And like, I rewatched Ham Radio after reading this interview, and you can just see how good her performance is as like a catharsis to wanting to like say goodbye to a parent who she had lost.
That's beautiful.
Okay, again, the cast is just stacked from here on in. We have to talk about John Mahoney, who plays Martin Crane. So Martin is Frasier's father. John Mahoney is fantastic. We didn't mention this, but David Hyde Pierce also like openly gay. John Mahoney not open.
It's an interesting thing with John Mahoney, because I think that I have seen many conversations, especially, after he died, there were many conversations about like, how do you treat actors that it's pretty well accepted that more than likely they were gay, but clearly they didn't want to talk about that. Is it unfair to their legacy for us to just talk about him as if he was gay? That seems like that wasn't what he wanted, but also knowing the circumstances of being gay, like in America, especially during the majority of time that he was alive, like, of course you wouldn't be private about it. So it's a little bit weird. My personal stance is sort of like, once you're fucking dead, you're dead. Say whatever. Once I'm dead, you say whatever the fuck you want about me.
I won't know.
Anyone in my life who knew me has a problem with that. They can speak up about it, but like, so all sources have always pointed to it seeming like he is either gay himself or was the most queer friendly man ever. So
sure. So we love
either way works.
Love it either way. Yeah. And we won't talk about them because they're not in this episode, but the thing that becomes even sort of more interesting about it is that there are a significant other member of recurring and guest cast who do eventually come out, to the point that it was like everyone but Frasier on the show is gay.
Right.
All right. But Mahoney didn't start as an actor. He started in the U.S. Army. I'm so tired of doing this when I do histories, and yet it was a good job, apparently. But he wasn't even a U.S. citizen. He was English. And during World War II, his sister fell in love with a visiting soldier, and that allowed him to move to the United States with his sister as a sponsored family member as part of a marriage to a GI. And so it's a interesting way of getting out there. When he joins the army, he learns to suppress his English accent because he doesn't want to be noticed. Sorry if that's not a little queer coded. I don't know what else is.
Wow. Yep.
He gets a master's degree after he's in the army. He gets a master's degree in English, and he teaches English at Western Illinois University. Absolutely despises being a faculty member and dealing with snotty children. And so in 1977, he's like, I'm going to go and be an actor. And he starts working on stage at the Steppenwolf Theater, where in 1977, John Malkovich encourages him to like go further. And this is just another one of those situations where I'm like, fucking John Malkovich shows up and is like, you should be an actor, man.
Mm-hmm. It's just like truly like an angel from heaven coming down and being like, here is your destiny. Like, yeah. It's so funny that this keeps happening with these people.
By 1986, his performances at Steppenwolf lead the founder of Steppenwolf, Gary Sinise, to call him or tell the world that he is ready to be launched into the movie business. And so he is. He is often drawing roles that are like guard or police chief, stuff like that, which then when they're looking for a retired policeman to be Frasier Crane's father, he is the one that they want. So when the series creators are figuring things out, they say, we'd like someone like John Mahoney. And NBC's like, if you can get John Mahoney, don't interview or don't audition anyone else. And so they make the offer and he goes, great, I'll take it. Thinking that it was going to be a couple years of his life, and it ended up being
11.
what he is probably best known for.
Yeah, truly. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, he's good. He's great. He's really great in this show. I love him in this show.
It doesn't work when Martin's not there, is truly and honestly how I feel about the greatest Frasiers. You need that sort of heat to balance off the acid from the other characters.
I think that's I think that's well said. You really need him there, especially for the audience that like isn't on the same level necessarily as like Frasier and his friends. Like you need someone to just be like, you guys stop talking like fucking freaks. Shut up. Like
exactly.
You need that energy on a show like this if you're going to appeal to a wide audience, you know? Yeah.
All right. We've got a couple guest cast on this one. The first is Rosie Perez as Lisbeth.
Oh, I love her so much. It's so funny that she's in this too. I love it.
So here's the wild thing, Derek. When I went to sit down about this, I was like, you probably best know Rosie Perez from, and then I stopped and I was like,
who knows?
What do I know Rosie Perez from? She's just sort of always been there.
She's just it's just all over the place. Yeah. It's like, and it'll be stuff from like watching like, you know, an older movie or something like that. And I'm like, shit, that's like fucking Rosie Perez. Like, I didn't even know she was in this, you know?
And I'll tell you, late 80s, early 90s, if someone was dancing, Rosie Perez was probably there because she directed all of the dance sequences and was the choreographer for In Living Color. Her first major credit was Do the Right Thing. She was in White Men Can't Jump and Fearless, which is sort of what put her up. Most recently, she was in Birds of Prey.
Mm-hmm. I think she's great in Birds of Prey. I love
great
her
in Birds of Prey.
It's such a funny role that they put her in.
And on the Kaylee Cuoco vehicle, the flight attendant, she was very good.
She's great in that too. Yeah, she had a fun role in it.
The reason that she is in this episode, this weird clip show episode, why would you bring Rosie Perez on? Like this would be a bottle episode if Rosie Perez wasn't in it. Truly, Derek, I would have pitched this as a double gimmick.
No, it wouldn't have been a bottle episode because they spent $70,000 on all those wigs, clearly. So that's because the budget clearly went to that.
I disagree. I think they spent $7 on those wigs. But Perez was the actor that the creators had in mind for what would be the Daphne role, that Hispanic streetwise nurse. They were going to cast Rosie Perez, and they had even had meetings with her. And so it was before she ever felt committed to the project. There was no bad blood or anything. But when they had the opportunity to like one last woman in Frasier's life. They said, would you do this as sort of an in-joke between us? And she said, I absolutely would love to.
That's really fun. I love that. She seems like she probably has a really good sense of humor.
Yes.
And self-awareness.
Yeah.
Did you know that she was on The View for a year?
I did. Yeah, I did. I did not watch. I watch a lot of things for this podcast, but I was not willing to watch her on The View.
I don't think you have to. I think that's fine.
And then the other guest cast we have is just recurring. It's Tom McGowan as Kenny. I don't know, David Derrick boyfriend, Tom McGowan,
Sure.
Prolific character actor, best known from Heavyweights or The Birdcage or any one of a million roles he's had on television.
For sure.
Last thing I want to talk about is Eddie the dog. In this episode, Eddie is played by Enzo, who is the son of the original Eddie named Moose. Moose retired in the year 2000. There were 2 other puppies born to Moose, a daughter who was too small to take on the new role, and a son named Moosey who lived a happy life with Perry Gilpin. He has passed away.
Aww.
Enzo was also cast as Skip in My Dog Skip.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that movie.
Yeah, me too. Enzo and his father Moose hated each other.
What? That's so funny.
I found a documentary of their handler, who also, by the way, was the trainer for Jill, the cute little dog that Jack Nicholson holds in As Good as It Gets.
Okay.
Who talked for 15 minutes about how much these dogs hated each other and could never be on set together.
Wow. So just like Frasier and his dad, hopefully they eventually had a little character arc and then by the end of their lives actually, got along. Who knows?
Who knows? They are both fast now. So yeah, there's Enzo Enzo is the Eddie in this one. You can tell because he looks not like an old dog. Because Moose was still around, but Moose had aged by this point in time.
Well, sure. I'm glad that they gave the dog a proper retirement, didn't work him to death like they did humans.
Oh my God, right?
Yeah. So the gimmick of this episode, it's essentially a fake clip show. Community did not, in fact, invent that concept. As good as that episode is, and as much as that episode kind of, in a way, sort of, I think maybe coined that idea for the mainstream. Fake clip shows in some way have existed for quite a while, even if they're not like billing themselves as that. And that's essentially what this is, because, like we said, this is right before the series finale. You often would see a TV show that was long running do a clip show right before the series finale, having characters remember how far they've come. And they did do like a sort of in-universe special that you can find online for Frasier that functions as that sort of penultimate clip show, but it just wasn't part of the actual series package. Like that wasn't a special that was like ran in syndication or anything like that. Even though it literally has like Fred Willard guest starring and Kelsey Grammer is playing Frasier reminiscing. Like it's sort of weird that they didn't just split that into 2 parts and just include that in the syndication package.
Now, Frasier, I understand it's been quite some time since you were last in analysis.
Yes, it's been a few years. But like every good psychiatrist, I try to come in periodically for a little tune-up.
Ah.
I see I've already piqued your analytical interest,
No, you just reminded me my Volvo needs servicing. Tell me about your life before Seattle.
Boston. It was 20 years ago. Fall of '84. I was dating a beautiful, confounding woman named Diane. She worked in a bar that, in time, became a second home to me.
It's pretty good. And I'll say, shocking, not on the DVDs.
It had to be some kind of weird rights issues or something with that somehow.
That was my guess, too, because at the beginning, there are actually clips from Cheers, and I wondered if that, fucked it up somehow.
I bet it was. I was surprised. I was like, oh, they're showing just legit Cheers clips at the beginning of this. Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah, it's like a 20-year clip show.
Yeah. But, like a clip show, we have talked about clip shows on this podcast before. There's a frame story and then characters in some way reminisce about things. And you see flashbacks to different events that are usually scenes that you've already seen from the show, because oftentimes those clip shows are used for they double as bottle episodes because they're there for money saving reasons, right? Or it's like you can reuse clips from previous episodes to have the characters reminisce, revisit on things. And again, effective for right before a finale, because it's like, oh, look and see how far we've come by looking at what we looked like and what the show looked like a decade ago, right? Totally makes sense. But what's interesting about this episode is that they take that concept but still film new material. So you sort of see it progressively going backwards throughout the years of them filming just little tiny short little scenes with all the same characters in the Frasier apartment, just going backwards back to the same year as the first season. And you just sort of get to see them evolve in reverse, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I really liked about it, because of how it was done, the clips end up being a little bit less about like, look where we came, and like more like, look at how we used to tell stories on this long running sitcom, because we're almost like, we're looking at the types of episodes that Frasier did. Like, oh, there's a new woman in your life. Oh, someone misunderstood something that they heard. Oh, dad can't hear me because he's got his noise canceling headphones out and it's a sight gag. It's like shotgunning the types of humor that we've watched over the last 11 seasons as a reminder of like, these are the stories that we told, not necessarily mattering what the content is, but more about looking at the method. And when that sort of unlocked for me, I was like, wow, this is like secretly brilliant.
That did not even occur to me one bit. So I love that you came up with that, because I was just looking at, oh, the wigs are funny. like it felt like it did. To me, it just felt like discarded bits from other episodes that they just had never done, that they're just getting to sort of shotgun out here, like a 22 short films about Springfield type of like compilation episodes, but instead of it being a vignette episode, they're like framing it as flashbacks, and have fun with the history stuff, and then they can make references to like where the show was, within its own history at certain points if they want to. But no, I think that's really smart, because every scene is like a different type of comedy or a different type of Frasier episode you might have seen. And all of them are things where it's like, I could have seen this be like the main plot, or just a B plot of a regular episode that we've seen in the last 11 years. Yeah. That's really cool. That's a really cool observation.
Yeah. And it is only because of my knowledge of farce that I was able to see like, oh, this is sight farce, or this is relational farce, or this is miscommunication farce. And so like Frasier always lived in farce. That there are like 6 episodes of the series that are not farcical in one way, shape, or form.
That's really cool. I mean, and that's not something like the differentiation of like farce and stuff is not something that I'm really super educated on. So I think that's really cool to hear that they're really playing in that space with this. That's really cool.
Yeah. You secretly do know all types of farce, because it's that same like man versus wild conflict thing, except instead of conflict, just do comedic misunderstanding.
Sure, but I mean, like, naming it how you name it, I think that's really useful for this conversation. I would also push back slightly on a thing you said earlier about this like not being a bottle episode. I think it's not a bottle episode in terms of money, but I do think that this is a chamber piece.
Oh, it's definitely a chamber piece.
Only in this one set. Like they never leave the Frasier apartment the entire time.
It's actually a little stark when they do the balcony shot, because it's a weird type of the set. But it is the other side of that set. But the camera's in like a really weird place, because obviously that's the middle of the sky, but it's not, because it's not literally in Seattle. But it is not only is it a chamber piece, but outside of the kitchen and the balcony, the camera never moves. Like it is,
that's so true.
There's like 2 places that they have cameras. This is a true multicam experience.
Yeah. So it is. I mean, like I think, by our definition, it probably doesn't qualify as a bottle episode, because I'm sure that they did have to pay Rosie Perez for her guest spot and everything. And it probably did take a little bit extra time setting up so many different scenes in this one space. But you're right. There's nothing complex happening with the camera work or anything. And they are just filming the same set and just changing their outfits and stuff for every scene that they're doing.
That Fred Willard special, I would totally give you a bottle episode, because the camera pans up at one point in time and there's a drop ceiling, and I went, go to hell. A drop ceiling? No way. Get out of here.
Yeah.
We're filming this in someone's literal office.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wow. I mean, Derek, I just put one of the things I put in the notes is just a bold 2-word sentence, which is the wigs. We've sort of teased it and talked about it, but do you want to talk about it naturally as we go through the scene by scene, or do you want to talk about wigs?
I want to know, did they know that they were bad and were just leaning on that to be funny, or were they trying to make them good and that this truly was the best that they could do? Yeah. That's what I want to know.
You know that the normal part of any preparation for a gimmicks episode is that you and I will both type in the name of the episode and the word Reddit to see what bestows us upon the dark net that is Reddit. If you do that, all you will get are giant commentaries on the wigs.
Yeah, it's not just us being like catty gays. Like
No.
it truly is like I think it's almost distracting. Like honestly, like as funny as it is, I do think it kind of hurts this episode.
Agreed.
Because you miss what they're doing, any acting wise or storytelling wise, because all you're doing is like, especially once you've figured out that they're going to be in fucking ridiculous wigs, you're just waiting for Roz or Daphne to walk in and see what the fuck their hair is going to look like. And like what weird plastic shiny like bowl they've stuck on their head this time is, you know, like it truly is like distracting in a way that detracts from it. In a way, it's kind of a bummer, even though I think it's hilarious and love to watch it. It made it hard to think about this episode on a critical level.
And I think that there are some emotional moments that I would like to have, and it's just almost too steeped in camp to get me to any place on it. And I love camp. I actually really do. Mm-hmm. And it did actually seem like everyone was having fun. Like I can see Jane Levy's and Perry Gilpin, who are like apparently BFFs at this point in time, being like, what's the weirdest fucking wig I can put on? But the sort of predominant fields of thought is that this was just supposed to be goofy and kind of missed the mark. Or that we are meant to interpret this as Frasier's memory and that he just has bad memory about women's hair.
That's
because he's
bullshit.
kind of a misogynist.
Shut up. That is a fun headcanon. Like that is a fun headcanon. That's like a fun, like if I'm trying to rationalize it, that's how I'd rationalize it. But that's not like, that can't be like, that's not a real interpretation, unfortunately, because the show wouldn't do that.
Well, and again, I sort of gave you Sheldon Epps' credentials. He's not like a goofy director. He's like a legitimately good director.
So it probably is just, unfortunately, like the costume department knocks it out of the park in terms of the actual costume pieces.
Perfect.
Like especially matching like how they were dressed in the first season. But hair department, costume department, makeup department, whoever was responsible for the wigs, I don't know exactly where that would fall, but whoever was responsible for it, I think that they just dropped the ball pretty badly here somehow. And
the only thing that I will give to the fan theory around Frasier's memory is that Frasier's wig, when it is back to the first season, actually looks really good on Grammer.
But I think the men's hair in general, because like David Hyde Pierce,
even Hyde Pierce's is fine.
Like I think that they just are, for whatever, there's something weirdly gendered going on here, and I can't pinpoint what it is, but there is something about them being able to appropriately do the men's hair. But the second there is a women's haircut that is in any way stylish or complex in some way, they just can't fucking get a wig that looks like it. Or the hair color. Why are all of their wigs like jet black? I don't understand. That's not what their hair looked like.
It's not. You watched the same clip show I did. We actually just watched all 11 seasons because there was an episode from at least every one, and nobody ever had like I'm in college. I went and bought black hair dye to make it look blue under a fluorescent light. This is like two black hair.
It's weird. Like truly like Spirit Halloween wigs. Like it's bizarre. And like I hate harping on it. It's like, get out of the way now so we can talk about the meat of the stuff. But it's like you kind of almost again, it's a comedy. It is funny. I love laughing at the wigs, but you do also kind of have to get past it to pay attention to anything else that's happening, which is just a really weird space to be in for this.
Also, I think that if the wigs had been once and they were over the top once, this would be amazing, and we would be like lauding this as like, wasn't it so funny that one year they were wearing weird wigs, whatever. But because it's every single time, and as Derek said, it's always the women who bear the brunt of the comedically large, at one point in time, beehives. Just it's like Marge Simpson level hairdos, y'all. This is like goofy.
Their hair was big at some points, but it wasn't like that. What are you doing?
No. All right, the wigs.
God, the fucking wigs, man.
But also, to the internet, we have now talked about the wigs. Talk about other parts of this episode. Like, it was hard to do research on this because it's all wigs.
Yeah, so we got it out of the way. We don't have to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
It's fine.
The only other thing I had on the making on is I did have a note that said the Crock, because if you did not ask about it, I was going to tell you at this point in time that the Crock was a fabrication.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Let's talk about the episode.
Let's do. Yeah.
There's a couple of framing things that they do that are very smart here. The for one, like it is framed around a dinner party that Frasier is planning for everyone, which is a thing that they do frequently, is like have dinner together. And I think some of the if I remember correctly, don't some of the flashbacks also include a dinner party?
Yes.
But not all of them do. So there's a mixture of like other dinner parties, but also just random events that happen throughout time, involving this crock.
Yeah.
And that's the other piece, is this crock that he like accidentally breaks. And it's a like this like kind of clay sort of tan orangish colored thing. So it like sticks out very clearly. That's just holding some of his utensils. He knocks it over, it breaks. And he's like, damn, this thing is always breaking. And then it just makes him think about like, oh yeah, this damn thing, I've had this for 11 years. Interesting. And then that's how you get into him thinking backwards almost year by year up until he actually moved in and got this crock for the first time.
Yeah. The framing of looking at a device and remembering it is as old as theater itself, Derek. There are Greek plays that use this technique.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's smart. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It works.
I was shocked. I was like, when was the first time someone used an object to remember things? And it was like fucking Yerkles. And I was like, well, okay, go on, I guess.
Sure. But I mean, like, that's just like it's such a human thing, right? Like we make these associations, these sentimental associations with objects that bring us to a different point in time. Right. Like, I think that makes so much sense. So yeah. I'm sure cavemen were doing some variation of that,
Oh, this club. I knocked so many women unconscious with it. And that was just a Frasier episode.
Love it. I will say my first note about the crock of it all, because I weirdly have a lot of fucking thoughts about this goddamn thing. My first thought, especially knowing that it wasn't an original prop, is that like even in this beginning frame story, it kind of sticks out because it doesn't. I don't know. It almost doesn't look like something that Frasier would have there in his kitchen to hold his utensils.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like the color of it, like it being such this bright, like kind of like orange color. It's strange.
He should have something that like, I don't think that Frasier is against gaudy or standoutish things, but they would be like Pavarotti level, like glistening with diamonds or something, not this color, which Mike also told me was very bright and obnoxious. So I just thought it was a normal color, but now I know that it is very apparent every time it is on screen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the first flash shot we get is just 1 year prior, 2003. So I guess this would have been around 2010, right? And Martin is fixing this crock. So that's how you get we've already gotten this sort of planting in the frame story that they break it all the time. Immediately you get it to like the thing was broken at one point and Martin is gluing it together, right?
Yeah.
So it's already been broken before. Daphne and Niles are coming back from their honeymoon. So that puts us in that point in place in time where they've just gotten married very recently. And Roz brings over a woman to meet Frasier. We immediately right off the bat get a Rosie Perez cameo, essentially.
Yeah. Unlike the Frasier reboot, you don't hide the good guest stars until later. You put them front and center in the first scene.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny. I mean, my favorite thing about this is that like, it's a very typical sitcom, like, oh, we're going to set you two up. Oh no, they actually hate each other. And like Rosie Perez, because she's really good, you actually do kind of get like you get a glimpse of what the show could have been if she was cast in this role, because like she and Kelsey Grammer just immediately like butt heads in a way that is really, really fun to see.
Pleasure to meet you, Elizabeth.
It's not Elizabeth, it's Lizbeth.
Ah, like Lisbon.
Like a what?
Enchanté.
Right, and meeting you is just super.
Yes, the feeling is mutual. Enchanté, enchanté, enchanté.
Oh, and for me, it's just been super. Super.
I took a shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we could stop shaking hands now.
Oh, well, I'm ready whenever you are.
Well, then just let go.
I did. You're holding on to me.
What? Oh, dear. Dad, what kind of glue were you using on that pot? Super.
How could you be so stupid to glue us together? I thought you said he was smart.
Yeah, it's also the perfect rapid fire back and forth. They get their hands glued together because, of course, Martin was using super glue on the crock pot. So now they're stuck together. Like, it's pretty classical Frasier. In fact, Martin using super glue to fix something and two people's being glued together was actually a plot used in Frasier.
Oh, incredible. That's I didn't even know that. That's extra funny. I also like that Frasier has a sort of a safe word for Roz to like get her, to get, if the date goes badly, to get them out. So it's Enchante. So he's just screaming, Enchante, Enchante, Enchante. But also my read of it, because then Rosie Perez's character starts screaming, super, super, super. And I'm like, do both of them have safe words with Roz and her safe word was super? Like, I think that maybe is what's happening.
I love that. I love it. In addition to then it sets up the joke of, oh, Dad, what kind of glue is that? And then you hear Martin going, super. It's just really good. Yeah. Her being named Lisbeth and him going like, oh, like Lisbon, and her being like, I don't know what the fuck that is. It's just so
and she's
totally...
like she's immediately like, oh, I don't like this guy. Never mind, get me the fuck out of here.
It's so totally perfect.
Yeah, it's good. It's really funny, and it is like true like slapstick stuff like immediately, like right off the bat. Yeah. It's good. It's good.
But then we bump back another year. We get another title card. The title cards, by the way, in Frasier are usually meant to tell sort of an added level of joke. So I'm a little sad that they're just years, but we need the years because of the conceit.
But they could have referenced like something happening in that season or something like that. Like it still could have had the year and then a joke under it. Okay. They could have worked a little bit harder on that, but that's fine.
This is where Roz is coming over for her birthday, which also we learn is on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Niles also comes over sharing that he and Daphne have finally hooked up, and Niles has forgotten Roz's birthday, so he repurposes the crock pot to give, or the crock to give to her.
Yeah, to make it clear, it's not a crock pot, because
I know.
I made the same mistake too. Like, I kept thinking of crock pot. It's like, no, it's a crock as in like literally a clay pot, like a small clay pot. That's all it is.
Yeah.
The funniest thing about this is just hearing, especially, I mean, both Niles and Daphne just talk about how their hot sex life, but especially Daphne, enjoying the sex that she's having with Niles is so funny. Just like unadulterated, just like, yeah, flips me over like a griddle. It's like fucking amazing.
I also love, and you get it, it's sort of reversed because that's how the series is told, but there was a softening between Niles and Roz, especially when Roz was showing up so much more in the household, that their sort of back and forth was always very caustic and fun. But they really softened towards each other in the last couple seasons. But it is sort of Roz's incredulousness that it was Niles who made Daphne feel this way is so great to sort of plant the seed that they're going to be sort of acidic towards each other at the end of this episode because it's the beginning of the series.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
The only other thing I like here is I do anytime a character speaks like poor Spanish is really fun for me. So her saying that traffic was muy mal. It's dumb.
Yeah. Oh, like the CGI fireworks too.
Oh yeah, when they like leave to go have sex and then
like, wow, he really is good. Oh, but anyone who's sort of like Frasier is too highbrow for me. It's like they literally have fireworks going off while people are having sex in the other room. Like, calm down.
First scene, Rosie Perez is trying to pee while her hand is super glued to Frasier. Second scene, we use fireworks to mean boning each other. Yeah, this is such a highbrow show.
What a highbrow show. Yeah, right. Yeah. We got our first significant like time skip because we skip over 2001 and 2000. I guess those seasons, nothing interesting happened because we go back to 1999. I've lost the thread at what season this corresponds with at this point. But Frasier is dressed up as Uncle Sam for the annual 4th of July parade. This is so ridiculous. Like it is a bright and shiny Uncle Sam costume too.
It is.
But this is also like a very kind of like almost, maybe not vaudeville, but like, I mean, there's like a silent film almost kind of aspect to this. Cause it's like Martin gets noise canceling headphones to watch the game and they work really, 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 really well. And then, everyone gets stranded on the balcony because the handle breaks while they're out there and then he can't hear them. So that's the whole joke of it, right? They're banging on the window. He can't hear them. It's all just like physical comedy ultimately.
Yeah. To the point of even Roz coming in her like Martha Washington outfit and being like, oh, wow, the view is so nice. And then being like, oh, no, you let the door close, which is like the most sitcom way that this can play out. But it is very Frasier.
And it's one that I could have seen just be like a bottle episode kind of thing where it's like, oh no, they're all stuck on the balcony and they're missing the parade and it's really stressful. Like that would have been a really fun bottle episode or chamber piece, like one or the other or both. Like I think that could have been a fun full episode, but we just got a snippet of it and the snippet
Exactly.
was fun.
Yeah, and we move on.
Yeah.
We bump back a year and it's title card 1998. Niles has come over. He is in the middle of his divorce. He's staying at his sad man Van Houten single guy apartments. His wife is taking everything, and Frasier and Roz are also out of work, but Roz has been keeping busy. Daphne, worried about being fired because she like comes in and out of scenes and keeps hearing parts of conversations, brings them all snacks, and that snack tray includes the Crock.
Yeah. And then I don't think I mentioned it, but like the previous year, Martin was using the Crock for snacks, right?
Right.
Or with his snacks or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically, in all of these, it's not mentioned, but it does always appear and is like part of usually something food related, like that they're holding on to or is on a plate or something like that. So it's consistently appearing throughout these things. This is the one that's like around Thanksgiving too. Is that what 1998 is? I
Yes.
think?
Yeah. Because this is where Daphne's talking to her, I assumed her mother, about what's going on at the Cranes because she's concerned about being fired.
That's right. Yeah, there's actually a lot going on in this one. Like the little sex line like phone subplot that then Martin accidentally answers. It's fucking hilarious.
So good.
Like, now I'm wearing flannel and slacks. It's like that would work for me, but
my favorite was him going, "Oh, thank you. You have a deep voice too." Because
I love how unfazed he is. By
exactly.
The whole thing.
It's Mahoney's delivery of being like, "Oh, what a nice compliment. Thank you."
Yeah, it's really, really funny. Yeah, I mean, this one again, it feels like an episode just condensed into like very rapid fire. Like you have the B plot of like Roz and the sex line, and you have sort of this like main plot of them trying to get together for Thanksgiving and everyone being sort of upset and in a way, and Thanksgiving is going to be ruined because everyone's in a bad mood. And then this other side plot of Daphne, like constant misunderstanding, thinking that she's about to be fired and then going off on everyone about it. Like I absolutely could have seen that just over a 22-minute period, and it would have been a really fun episode.
Right. And so this is conversational dialogue, or French farce is the name of this type of farce, where a character is constantly hearing just enough of the wrong thing to draw a perfectly reasonable conclusion off of what they heard, but is ludicrous to the audience who knows the full story.
Yeah. Like when Dawn hears Buffy and her mom talk about her and thinks that they don't accept her as as their family, and then she runs away again. Yes.
And it is probably the most known use of farce, and Frasier goes to this well a lot.
And so it's so easy to write a sitcom plot around that.
Well, and it benefits from the design of Frasier's set too, which is that the kitchen, for all intents and purposes, is a soundproof booth.
Oh my God, that's so true, isn't it?
It's awesome. It is such a well-designed set for that kind of type of comedy, because it is so easy to never hear people.
And there's also a lot of like there's like a lot of open space, but like these really open walls where anyone, I don't know if I'm describing it well, but like there's a lot of spaces that someone can be standing just behind within earshot without being seen by other people in the room. Like that, like every angle has a space in this apartment that works for that.
I think that the people who designed the set the first time were probably mocked, because they were like, you have so many blind spots on this set. Like, it is going to be so hard to shoot your characters. But by the end of probably season 3, they're like, oh my God, this is a fucking brilliant set because of the type of comedy you are telling. Like, you couldn't tell this in the Roseanne house, because the Roseanne house is just a set. It is flat. And this is so layered.
Yeah, there's a lot of depth to this set that you don't often get from just like a living room set. And like even having that sort of back balcony that you can always see. Like I'm sure that they were like, well, that's going to be a nightmare because we're always going to have like this big wide skyline in the background. But it's like, no, then you can play action on the balcony at the same time that you're playing action in the living room space, just like you would with a stage play. Like, yeah, it's really, you're right. I never thought about it, but it is a really cleverly designed set.
The view from Frasier's balcony, by the way, it can only be obtained from the cliff of a park nearby. Yeah, but it features the Space Needle, and that's how you know it's Seattle.
Right. Yeah, because how else would you know?
Exactly. Otherwise, it's Chicago.
Yeah. Okay. This is where I've got to talk about the motherfucking Crock. This makes me so mad.
Yeah.
This makes me so mad. So here's the thing. Again, it's a clay pot. This is a bright orange clay pot. And like I say bright orange, it's not like it's neon orange. It's still like, it is a natural color that you have seen a pot. If you've seen like a very typical like clay flower pot, it's like that sort of like orangish tannish sort of color. Like it's bright, but it's not like neon and it's not unnatural. Like it's a normal color for it. Right. So it's just this sort of, it's just a regular clay pot that looks decorative. This one, you find out what that clay pot was, because it turns out that Martin threw out Frasier's blue cheese because it was moldy, which is like a crime, but it's also a funny joke. And he replaced it. He was like, well, it's fine. I got you some spreadable cheese. And it's just a clay pot containing spreadable cheese. And I think then you find out, I'm sorry. I've overstated. Overstated because that happens in the next one.
You've totally done it right. We almost need to tell the story of the spreadable cheese to tell what happened in 1996.
Yeah.
Which is that Martin offers to open the pot when Roz comes over and she's like depressed, and it still has cheese in it 3 years later.
Right. So here's the thing that it's supposed to be. Because then, so when you first hear this scene, so let me try to clarify this because I feel like jumbled this up a little bit because I'm so fucking steaming mad about this fucking crock. So 1996, he's offering this crock of spreadable cheese and it's 3 years old. And that's the joke, is that it's just like, it's fucking 3 years old. And Martin's like, it's still good, which is like, okay, haha, yeah, right. It's cheese, like not going to be 3 years old. And your assumption, I think, is that, oh, he put some sort of cheese in this pot and kept it there. And then what you find out in 1993, we'll talk about everything else that goes on, but the sort of reveal, I guess, quote unquote, is that crock was what this spreadable pasteurized processed cheese flavored food came in. So the joke is that it probably is still good 3 years later because it's just like fake plastic cheese rather than real cheese. And that's what the crock always was the container that Martin bought this cheese in. But then that means that this pasteurized processed cheese flavored food, basically like Cheese Whiz type shit, was sold in a literal clay, a decorative clay crock, a little clay pot that doesn't make any When have you ever seen processed cheese sold in a clay pot? When have you ever really seen anything sold in a clay pot that wasn't like a very, very expensive gift? And if it is a very, very expensive gift, it's not going to be spreadable cheese.
Well, yeah, because even if this is a high-end, what is the, like, Hillsbury Farm or whatever that, like, giant thing?
Hillsbury Farm, sure.
Hillsbury Farm. Even if it was, like, a really nice Hillsbury Farm, well, then that defeats the purpose of Martin getting it, because Martin wouldn't be getting something expensive. Not that Hillsbury Farm is that expensive, but it's kind of a fancy gift to get your dad when you don't know what else he wants.
Yeah. Like, it feels weird. I mean, and I don't know. I guess maybe if they leaned more on like, no, this was his idea of a fancy gift. And it was like, yeah, it's nice on the outside, but on the inside it's spreadable cheese. But even then I'm sort of like, but it's a clay pot. Like glass makes sense for something like that potentially. But like clay is a very specific thing to like work with. Why would they mass market a clay pot to put spreadable cheese in? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and you would never, I never truly and honestly, and I never thought about it until now that we're talking about it. I never envisioned the cheese being directly in the pot. I always envisioned the pot being like a container for a plastic cylinder that had cheese in it.
Which I guess is possible.
But then again, that speaks to something that looks fancy, even though it's really cheap on the inside. But like, that's not really what Martin is about. He's he's cheap on the outside.
It's just weird. It's just a weird choice because it's a weird prop. Like the shape of it, like doesn't make sense. Because how would you get the spreadable cheese out of it? It's like there's like a lip to it. Like I don't understand.
It's flared.
Like, the flare. That's the word I'm looking for. There's like So
it's such a weird prop.
It's weird. And that's the thing. When I thought like, oh, this is something that they just had forever, they retrofit it. And it's a funny joke to be like, finally 11 years later, we're going to reveal that this like cute little decorative prop that's been in our set for 11 years actually was filled with fucking like spreadable cheese or whatever. Like that's a funny joke. I like that. But the fact that they invented this prop for this episode, so they specifically chose this weird ass looking clay crock for the reveal that it was filled with cheese, which it never would have been filled with. It makes no sense. What were you thinking? Like, did the people who made the wigs also choose this crock? Like, it's so weird.
I like that somebody just had a cousin who was like, I have a weird store and the store only has wigs and earthen pots. So would you please throw me some business at the end of your series run?
It makes me so mad. The two worst things in this episode, the wigs and the crock itself. It sucks. It makes me so mad.
Oh, it's so sad that those are the things that also get remembered the most about this episode, because I do think that there are really good parts to all of this.
Yeah, it's funny otherwise. Yeah. I mean, I focused on that. There are other things that happen in those two scenes.
Yeah, the crock is sort of, especially because I was like you, when I went on my sort of mission to figure out when was the first time this showed up on set, I thought, is it in the background? Is it on a cabinet? Because it would be such a funny in-joke to be like, you know, sometimes you just got to make an apartment look furnished and you just don't give a fuck. Just find anything at a thrift store and like stock these shelves. And that is not what happened.
Stupid. It's so annoying. What does actually happen in these? Not
okay. All right. So the 1996 one, which is when Martin offers Roz the crock because she's feeling kind of down. Frasier finishes a date and is like, this is the woman I'll be with forever. And then Frasier immediately gets a phone call of her breaking up with him. Just a standard moment of irony as a humor device in the series.
Frasier has girl problems.
Yeah. And then the last one is 1993. It's the first year of the series. And this is where Martin has just moved in. Eddie is terrorizing Frasier by looking at him. Niles comes over and meets, you know, Daphne and Roz for the first time. And this is where like Daphne doesn't get his name right. That's kind of funny because they obviously end up married.
Sorry, I have a question then. Is there not a scene in the first season or the pilot episode where Daphne and Niles meet? Because I thought that there was.
There actually are both scenes where Niles and Daphne meet and where Niles and Roz meet that are completely different than how this tells the story.
That's an odd choice.
I know. It is a bit of a sore thumb, especially because their meeting is so much more climactic than the way that this is told. But I love Roz being there. And I think that's part of it is that they always get these 5 characters back together in all of these memories, which is a little contrived, but then it gives us the like ultimate reveal of like, I'm never inviting these people over again, which is sort of how Frasier leaves all of this. And then his memory being like, wow, this is actually my family, is these 5 people.
He is driving me batty. All right, we are making a deal. He spends 6 months here, and then he's moving into your house. Absolutely. We'll switch off.
Someone bring me a beer.
Yeah, beer sounds good.
I should have just gotten a keg. I'll tell you something. This is the last time I try to make a nice dinner for these people. Oh, hey, Dad. Dinner's ready.
All right.
Hello, you guys. Come on in. Dinner is served just about.
Yeah. Oh, I think this 1993 scene is really, really effective. You know, especially because I think it's very much framing it as sort of like where the show started, the premise of the show, where it's like any sitcom, you're kind of trying to make these characters caustic with each other because it creates conflict that's funny. So like Frasier really truly like not wanting his dad to be there, which was the impetus for the pilot episode of the show in so many ways, right? Like doesn't want his dad to move in, and they make the joke about like, this is only going to work because I'll trade him with you, Niles. Every 6 months, we'll just trade him back and forth. And then, of course, the irony
happens.
being that like he's stuck there for 11 years, right? Like that kind of stuff. And just all of these characters that like they don't really get along because their relationships have not evolved to the point that they would by the end of season 11, where they've grown together and went through their character development and sort of become this sort of larger family, you know?
Yeah. And this is what I really liked, is that at the end of it, you actually leave him in his least evolved state before we then switch back to modern Frasier. And I think that's how turning the timetable backwards and telling these in reverse actually really served the emotional climax of this, which is the sort of idea of like, no, I'm better than I used to be. And me deciding to keep this crock, I guess, is evidence of that because of the memories that I just had.
Yeah, I can see that. Where it's like he would have previously just like thrown it out just because like it's just another broken thing. Who cares? But it's sort of like recognizing the sentimental value, even if it's like silly for a man like him to have a broken clay crock that originally housed spreadable cheese, which why were you holding it for 11 years then, dude?
Well, okay. This is where I can defend Frasier, because I have before kept things to put spoons in the kitchen.
That's fair. That is fair. That is fair.
I've kept a weird fucking thing to put spoons in the kitchen.
It's fair. That's fair. But but it's interesting but it's like clearly he's grown from what, like, he would not have done that in the 1993 flashback that we saw clearly.
Yeah.
And he would now, and it obviously represents something which then can allow them have the funny stinger that undercuts it, where he's like, oh, it's going to become the centerpiece because they appreciate it so much, and then puts flowers in it and tries to fill it with water because the thing is a fucking clay pot that's been broken 70 times. All the water just sprays out and like ruins their dinner. It's very funny.
Yeah. There was a fan of Frasier has done the work to put all of the closing scenes together in one long video.
That's fun.
Just viewed by themselves. Some of those scenes are some of the best visual, because they're always silent because the end credits song plays over them. And it becomes very annoying. So you should mute the video if you're choosing to watch this. But it's an exceptional form of television that I've never seen a show do that the way that Frasier does it. And they're almost consistently really good one-note gags. And I even appreciated this one because you don't get one for the finale.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. I guess also worth pointing out that 1993 flashback does have Kenny showing up delivering a pizza, which is funny.
All the men's wigs are much better than the women's wigs. Kenny is in a wig that is specifically for me.
It's very funny.
I love Kenny in this wig.
Yeah.
I will say, I think that on a binge rewatch of Frasier, this is a really, really beautiful episode to watch before the sort of resolving the Laura Linney of it all, which is Frasier's girlfriend at this time, and the end of season 11, and therefore the end of the series. This would actually be a pretty fine way to end the series as well. And a lot of people who don't care for the Laura Linney plot actually will stop here.
Interesting.
I think I would have had a lot of trouble if I had actually seen the very well produced, and I again really love the Fred Willard clip show. I think that would have taken a lot of the steam away from watching this before the finale. But it was a 2-hour television event, and it was an hour-long clip show and then an hour-long finale.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, it's interesting. I think this is really fun, and I love retrospective before a finale type of episodes. I think they're always really interesting, and I think that even if they get like heavy-handed and stuff, I think the emotion of it always comes clear, because it's usually coming from an authentic place of, oh, we're sad that our show is ending, but also happy to be looking back on it. And you definitely feel that in this, and I think it being a thing that creates moments from the show's history. There clearly is a lot of love for the show's history, which I think is important, for a show that runs 11 years, you maybe should be. And I think also in some ways probably helps it even stand further apart from it being originally having an origin and being a Cheers spinoff, because it's like, you don't even have to fucking mention anything Cheers related here. And you still get like a really thorough, over a decade-long evolution of these characters that feel so contained within the scope of this show and have a very clear beginning, middle, and end for it that you really get to see. It's just sort of very quickly condensed over the course of this episode, along with just like funny little gags.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
I think it's really well done.
Yeah, it was interesting because I think that both of us had wanted to talk Frasier for a while. I really liked the idea of, because we talked about Maniac Mansion earlier this season, doing another fake clip show that was on the end of a season rather than the pilot episode.
First episode, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I really wanted to do this one. I hope that we'll come back to Frasier eventually, because I think there's some other great ones we can do.
Yeah, we're gonna do Cheers at some point too.
I'm
assuming
Cheers.
I can't think of a gimmick episode. I'm sure that there's something we can.
I think there's definitely a bottle in there, if not a chamber piece, that we could talk about. So I'm due for a Cheers rewatch anyway. So maybe I'll make that some good quality time on the couch. But for now, if Perry Gilpin is listening to this podcast, Derek, where can Perry Gilpin reach out to you and find the other great work that you are doing?
Sure, Perry, you can DM me most places at Derek B. Gale. My other podcast, if you want to scope out our work before you come on, you can check out some of my other podcasts that I do. I have Walloping Web Snappers, where we do deep dives into Spider-Man podcast. I have Screonk, where we look at Godzilla movies. And I have Lee Carvalho's Potting Challenge, where we look at Simpsons tie-in video games, as well as video game history, pop culture history, and Simpsons history, and also Falling with Style. Previously a Pixar movie marathon, but we recently did a special presentation miniseries where we looked at movies and TV that have very explicit and clear and unafraid queer representation. What about you, David?
Well, for me, if you would like to find me directly, you can find me at Dmuma. That's Dmuma. I'm available on Blue Sky and Instagram. And I do a couple other shows as well. One of them is called Are You My Mother, where we look at mother characters in media and talk about the ways in which those fictional and sometimes non-fictional characters reinforce or betray the idea of what it means to be a mother in our world. And then with my buddies, Tyler and Marilee, I have been diving into the deep ocean of horror content as we look at a single entry of the horror genre and talk about just how gay everything is, and that is on Fear Coded.
Gimmicks is a proud part of the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective. If you're looking for other queer media podcasts like the ones we all just mentioned before, check out the full roster of Glitterjaw shows at glitterjaw.com.
And if you want to support this show by giving us a little tip, buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/gimmickspod. You can follow the podcast at gimmickspod on Blue Sky and Instagram, and email us your questions, feedback, and corrections to gimmickspodcast@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe on all podcast platforms. And until next time, friends, keep being weird.
Hey, baby, I hear the blues are calling. Tossed salads and scrambled eggs. Hey, baby, I hear the blues are calling. Tossed salads and scrambled eggs. But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again.
And just when I thought I'd worn him out, he flips me over like a griddle cake, and off we go again.